Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining. We will get started in just a moment as we clear the waiting room. As a reminder to everybody entering from the waiting room, please do remain on mute unless or until it is your turn to speak before the board. Give just another minute as folks are still trickling in from the waiting room. Great. Good afternoon. This is a hearing before the licensing board for the city of Boston. Today is Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. Today's hearing is being held pursuant to temporary amendments to the open meeting law. That is what allows us to meet virtually. Today's hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the City of Boston's website. Before I run through how today's hearing will be structured, I will introduce Chairwoman of the Board, Kathleen Joyce.
Excuse me. Thank you, Danny. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I'm Chair of the Boston Licensing Board. Today, I'm also pleased to be joined by Commissioner Liam Curran and Commissioner Kiana Saxon.
Thank you very much. Please ensure that your audio and visuals are working properly if you will be providing testimony today. Today's hearing is an informational hearing. As was stated in the hearing notice, the City of Boston. Or if we could just make sure. Thank you. As was stated in the hearing notice, the City of Boston has formally accepted Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 12D, as codified by Chapter 9 of the Acts of 2025, which permits the licensing board to allow licensees who are permitted to sell only wines and malt beverages on premise to trade in that beer and wine license for a non-transferable all-alcoholic beverages license. The enabling legislation allows the board to establish additional requirements. Therefore, this hearing has been scheduled as a listening session to afford all licensees the opportunity to be heard regarding any potential changes that may be considered by the board. Anybody in attendance may testify before the board. You will have up to 2 minutes to do so. I will begin with individuals who signed up to testify through the online registration. After I get through that list, I will call on anyone who has used the raise hand function in the order that you have raised your hand. Please state your name and affiliation, if any. Please limit your testimony to 2 minutes. Before I start calling on the list of folks who have signed up ahead of time, I will just ask Kathleen Joyce if you have any opening remarks for today's hearing.
Thanks, Danny. I don't really have any opening remarks. I just appreciate people being here with us today. This is a very exciting opportunity for Boston. We have the support of the City Council. We're trying to figure out as a board exactly what this will look like and what will mean to licensees. We plan on having this listening session and then having an opportunity to discuss it at one of our hearings in the next few weeks. And then we would hope to vote on this by sometime in late November. We're trying to understand this too, figure out how this impacts the way we license those that have both restricted and unrestricted beer and wine licenses now. And we're curious to hear from those of you who are contemplating doing this and what it means to you as far as a business decision.
Thank you. With that, we will start running through the list of folks who have signed up to provide testimony through the registration form. If you did not sign up but would like to speak before the board today, you may use the raise hand function on your screen at any time, and I will call on you in the order that I see your hand appear after we've gone through the list of folks who have already registered. The first name who registered, signed up to speak today is Johan Medina. Mr. Medina, are you with us? And if so, you may provide your testimony. Does not look like Mr. Medina is with us. The next name who signed up ahead of time was Robert Fitzharris. Mr. Fitzharris, are you with us today? I do
All right,
see.
good afternoon. Yes, I am here. How are you?
Great, thank you very much. Yes, please just identify yourself and you may have up to 2 minutes to speak to the board.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for holding this meeting. I own Rosa Lyons over in South Boston. We'll be 10 years in business next May. I just have one question to clarify, and I don't know if I missed this already, but when it says it's non-transferable, I would just automatically assume that if it gets assigned to a specific address, that will stay with that address and it cannot be moved anywhere in the city, which is totally fine. But then I also heard that if you do upgrade to an all alcohol license, once you cease business, that license needs to be handed back to the city. And I just wanted to clarify that point. I mean, I paid, quite a substantial amount of money 10 years ago for the beer, wine, and cordial license. So just to hand that in for a straight swap is leaving me and probably every other person on here who's looking to do this without an asset when it goes to selling their business and moving elsewhere. I just didn't know if that was correct or if the board would maybe consider implementing a timeline in operation before if you operate for say 10 years under that license, then that automatically will be signed back over to you as an asset. That's my only question. I thank you very much, and thank you.
Thank you, Danny. Now, I will attempt to answer this as best I can, and then you can correct me. Thank you, Mr. Fitzharris, and I know you did apply for an all alcohol license, and it is my understanding your beer and wine license, you would fill out an application for an upgrade. That upgraded license, should you receive it, which you probably, I think it's an automatic upgrade, you would become an all alcohol license that would have no value. So you wouldn't be able to transfer the all alcohol license to another location. And it doesn't necessarily stay at your address. What you would do when you'd want to close or move is you would then apply to downgrade your license, and your beer and wine license that had value returns to you. So then that is when you would receive your value back. And you would then be able to sell that beer and wine license on the open market. Danny, is that how you understand?
I do understand that that is a possible maneuver that can be done in terms of can it be moved to a location? The legislation does not tie the non-transferable alcohol license to a location. It ties it to an owner. A change of location does seem like it could be permissible, but the purpose of this hearing today is to hear these exact questions and these comments. So, the board kind of knows what additional conditions we might or might not want to place on it. So, thank you for that. Did that answer your questions, Mr. Fitzharris?
Yes, it did. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
The next individual who registered ahead of time is Doug Bacon. Mr. Bacon, I do see you are with us. You will have up to 2 minutes to let us know your thoughts.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm the owner of multiple full liquor licenses in the city of Boston, which I made a substantial investment for each and every one of them. And I have debt and I have a capital structure and pricing in my businesses that reflects the investment I made in the all alcohol liquor licenses. I also own a beer, wine, and cordials license, which obviously I would like to be able to upgrade. My concern is for the people like me who have invested a lot in the full liquor licenses and being at risk of a competitor opening up either in close proximity or somewhere nearby who has a different capital structure, a different investment. And so that would be a little bit of a competitive disadvantage. I understand that a lot of people want to see more liquor licenses in the city of Boston. You already answered one of my questions, which was, can an owner on transfer revert back to beer and wine? And I think it was answered that yes, you could. Are there any regulations in place or contemplated that would regulate a new owner? For instance, if I were to upgrade from beer, wine, and cordials to full liquor, and then next year I get an agreement to sell this license. I request it to be downgraded back to beer, wine, and cordials so that I can transfer it. And then the new owner, presumably, unless there's some regulation contemplated, could come in the next day and apply to get that license again upgraded. So I would like to hear what the board is considering for a situation like that. And I do appreciate the opportunity to have a voice on this. Thank you.
Right now, we're not contemplating any sort of sunsetting of this. We're going to see how it plays out, and what the impacts are. I can tell you an upgraded beer and wine license is not the same as an upgraded beer and wine license. So what we're talking about now is one of these all alcohol restricted licenses is not the same as the license that you went and paid for on the open market. Because with a restricted all alcohol license that had been upgraded from beer and wine, that person cannot go out and pledge that license. They cannot use it as collateral, and it's not an asset. So there, it is different as far as a business asset.
Okay, I do understand, and that is helpful. But further to the point, are there any restrictions contemplated, or is this regulation permanent and forever for all beer and wine licenses citywide?
That's what we're trying to figure out. We haven't gotten to that granular level of detail. We are going off of the language that was just adopted by City Council.
Okay, and is it 900 beer and wine licenses citywide?
There are about 375 beer and wine
Oh,
licenses.
okay. Okay, and will you accept further comments and suggestions after this?
Yes, the record will be held open. Chairman Joyce, do you know how long we will keep the record open for?
So that was part of what we're going to talk about today. Is I'm anticipating keeping the record open for several weeks. I would expect the board to have a public discussion, sometime in November with a vote towards the end of November. This is our busy time, as all of you know. We're entering our renewal season. So has been difficult for us to figure out a way to sort of implement it at the same time while we're doing our due diligence with our regular responsibilities in the office. So we want to take our time, make sure we get it right.
So with that, the record will be held open, and any written correspondence, a testimony can be sent to licensingboard@boston.gov. That will be considered in addition to whatever is shared today prior to the board's discussion on the record, and then eventual adoption of whatever regulations come from this. The next name who has registered ahead of time is Noreen Maloney. Ms. Maloney, if you are with us today, you may please provide your testimony to the board.
Hi, how are you? One of our questions was just answered there, but we just wanted to be here today to basically thank for the opportunity. We think it'll be a good opportunity for our business going from the beer and wine to a full. It would keep people in our area, staying around our area in the Fenway area. So, yeah, just for representing the area. So,
Noreen, what is your business? Just so we can.
Bop Production, sorry, the Bebop.
Okay.
We're on Boylston Street. So, in our area, there isn't too many liquor licenses. So we are getting people that will come in and go elsewhere because we don't have the full liquor license. So that's about it really, but I appreciate the opportunity and we will wait and see, I guess.
Thank you, Noreen. Thank you for being here today and for that testimony. The next name who signed up to testify is George Lewis. Mr. Lewis, if you are with us, you may provide your testimony. Do not see you. The next individual who signed up is Massimo Tiberi. Okay. And then the final name who had signed up ahead of time is Warren Mustachio. Are you with us? Here we go. Yep, I'm going to ask you to unmute, and you may please let the board know your thoughts. Here we go.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. It means a lot to our business that we don't lose any customers that people that have full liquor license next door have. It's a great opportunity, and the one question I have is when you talk about the licenses not being transferred, and the license I have now is a beer wine cordial, which the city gave me 8 years ago. Um, if I decide I'm getting older, a couple years down the road, that I would like to sell the business, the license that you guys, the city gave me, can I, when I sell the business, can the new people that take over use that license?
Chairman Joyce, I think this gets to the answer you gave earlier. I don't know if you want to help out, Mr. Mustacchio here.
That's a really good question. I think Danny explained it with a little bit more of a finer point. From our understanding, these are not attached to a particular address. And I guess we would work with you to make sure that we're putting you in the best position possible if that's what you wanted to do. But I do think they would have to downgrade, if I'm not mistaken, Danny, if they were going to sell, because we're not increasing our cap. These are these will still be a beer and wine. So it sounds like your license is a restricted beer and wine license as it is right now, beer, wine, and cordials.
Yes,
Okay, that the city gave you.
yes.
So even if you didn't upgrade, if you were to close, that license comes back to the city. Um, if you were going to sell, and that license really has no dollar value attached to it. So the new owner could come in and buy your business, and then they would have to apply to us anyways for a license that fit the North End, for instance, that could go into the North End.
Okay.
That's a confusing way of trying to say that you can't sell the license with the business necessarily.
Well, I'm not looking to sell it for a value. It's just that if you have a restaurant and you decide that, you know, you want to move on, retire, it's hard to sell a restaurant that you can't serve a glass of wine.
Right. I think we're moving to a world where if you wanted a license, we would be able to work with you as a seller or as with the new owner to get a license in that location. How that works, we don't have clarity on that or a roadmap on how that would work. But Danny, why don't you add
Yes.
whatever you can for clarity?
Sure. So I think the question here is if you were to upgrade this license to a non-transferable all alcohol license, what happens at the end if you are going out of business, what to do with that business? As the chair said at the beginning, we do envision that operators who take advantage of this may be able to apply to change their category back to a beer and wine license to then transfer that license. That may be possible. That may be contemplated unless the board puts additional restrictions that would prohibit that. I don't know if that is being contemplated right now. That's the purpose of this hearing today, is to hear from you all to best inform the board as to what restrictions, conditions, if any, to put on top of this.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I do see a hand raised from Obi, and I apologize about not being able to pronounce your last name, Onosike. Obi, if you're with us, you may please let your thoughts be heard.
Yeah, you got it. That was the proper pronunciation.
Great.
I've been trying to get a liquor license off and on for like the last 2 years. I'm pretty close to closing on one right now. But sellers have so much leverage. I was like a day away from signing, and then they added all these new stipulations and blah, blah, blah. So I had to pull back. Doug, I heard you say you got a bunch of liquor licenses. I don't know if you have any for sale. If you do, I'll talk to you on the side if you're open to that. But I need to move pretty quickly. And just finally, like how long after the November vote would the application process open, do you guys think?
As soon as the board adopts final regulations, the process could start immediately. The application already exists. It is a change of category application that is already available on the City of Boston's website and the ABCC's website. The application, the community process, all of that already exists now. The board just would not be able to issue this upgraded license until it had formally adopted this. So this is the first stage in that. As soon as the board adopts some sort of regulations in November, it becomes available immediately.
Okay, so and they would be able to issue it immediately after the application process in November?
It would still need to be approved by both the board and the ABCC. So after all of that happens is when a license would actually be able to be issued that had been upgraded.
Okay. And how long of a process do you guys anticipate that being?
That's a great question. That's always a little bit of a sticky point. We know our process is usually we have to hold a hearing on an application within 30 days. If things go smoothly with the ABCC review, could be a few weeks. If there are issues with the application, could take a whole lot longer than that. It's a bit of an open question sometimes.
Okay, and then finally, like I said, I'm in the process of trying to purchase a full liquor license. I'd be happy to do it. The money is like crippling, but I'm super close to opening and I'd like to get that done as soon as possible. But if that does fall through in the next couple of days, I haven't formally like applied for a wine and beer license yet. If I do that and I receive it before the November date, which isn't likely because I know how long it takes, but whenever all that is done, can I apply for an upgrade with my new wine and cordials license?
Yes, we believe so. Can you share with us where you're hoping to open?
Downtown Boston.
Okay.
Downtown Boston. And somewhere in the theater district, we're good to go on everything. We have the money, we have the lease pretty much formally signed. It's just that this liquor license seller is trying to like put the screws to us last minute and like renege on certain things that we discussed. So that's kind of why I'm in the position I'm in right now. But yeah, those are all my questions.
Great. Thank you. We've gone through everyone who had signed up ahead of time. I don't see any other great. I do see a hand raised. Steve Clark. Thank you for being with us. You please provide your testimony.
Good afternoon, City of Boston. I'm Stephen Clark. I'm from the Massachusetts Restaurant Association. I just want to thank the city for the diligent process that they're undertaking. I know this is a new type of legislation, a new type of upgrade, and there's going to be some challenges. So thank you all for navigating that process. Also, as we've been partnering on the rollout with the new liquor licenses in the restricted areas, we're happy to offer our services as well as operators navigate this process in partnership with the city. It is a different operational animal when you go from a beer and wine to an all alcohol. Probably a smaller step up from a beer wine cordial, but a full step up from a beer and wine. So there are some considerations as part of that. The two issues I just wanted to flag, and one of them seems to be addressed, is the first one was the ability to downgrade the license. It is important for people to be able to transfer out of their license and sell their business. At the end of the day, most people buying a restaurant, if they're not buying a liquor license, they're basically buying some used restaurant equipment and a name. And so people do need to have the ability to get out of that license. So I think that's a good thing that people can downgrade and then sell that beer and wine license. And then the second question is the board giving any consideration to putting a time frame on how long a license holder has a beer and wine license before they're able to upgrade? Obviously, existing licenses have been in effect, but you can see the scenario where someone goes out and buys a beer and wine on the open market, moves it to an area where they were trying to get an all alcohol license, whether it's the North End, Seaport, Back Bay, and then upgrades to an all alcohol. So is there any consideration being given to how long a beer, wine, and cordial license is held for before it is upgraded? And it doesn't need to be answered now, but just wanted to raise that as a potential concern as we look at different challenges that are out there.
Thanks, Steve. That is something we have heard from people about, so we are thinking about it.
Thank you. Thank you for the partnership. And yeah, I look forward to hearing any other thoughts you might have. Before I call on the next hand raised, I just do see a question in the chat from Annette. Does the closing time you currently have change with the upgraded license? Thank you. if all you're doing is just applying for an upgrade, then the hour would stay the same. If you're also applying to change the hour, you can do that as well. It would also be part of your community process. It would just be a separate transaction that you're applying for at the same time. So you could apply to upgrade your license and change your hour. Otherwise, your hour would stay the same. Hope that was clear. Hand raised, I see from Anthony Lawrence. Mr. Lawrence, you may please unmute yourself and provide your testimony.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having this meeting, and it's an incredible opportunity to have the chance to upgrade. I'm with Pico in the South End, and I just wanted to be clear. Right, are you saying that we're able to apply for an upgrade now, and then no decisions will be made until you guys set all the rules, or should we wait until all the rules are set and then apply a little bit farther down the road?
So, sorry, Chairman Joyce, how would you
No,
like?
go ahead, Danny.
I was going to say there is nothing in the law currently that would prevent you. The upgrade application exists. Community process could be started through the Office of Neighborhood Services anytime. The board could hear your application anytime. The board would not be able to issue this license or even grant the upgrade and pass it on to the ABCC until all the kinks were worked out, until the regulations were made. Because we are not quite contemplating yet what might be in these regulations, it might behoove you to maybe wait to just make sure that they line up with your business decision that you want to make. I think that's really up to you and how much you want to do this ahead of time. Chairman, are you going to say anything different? Okay. Mr. Lawrence, did that answer your question?
Yeah, it's perfect. Thank you.
Danny,
Yes.
should anyone considering this reach out to ONS or reach out to their neighborhood groups and look about getting on schedules for the next time they hold meetings and stuff like that?
Yeah, any change of category application does require a butter notifications, which also generally triggers a community process. If you would like to get started on that now, to Commissioner Curran's point, you can reach out to ONS at any time. You can reach out to your neighborhood liaison. You can reach out to one of the 3 community engagement specialists. All of their contact information is on their website, boston.gov/ONS. You can also reach out to us, and we will put you in touch with who the right person is in your neighborhood. But you can start the community process by reaching out to ONS at any time, even before you put an application in. Warren, I will come back to you because I do see your hand raised. So Warren, come on. Yeah, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, about 6, 7 months ago, I don't know if it was January or February, we went through the process and we were deferred, but we had an abutters meeting with the mayor's office. We had a community meeting with the North End Neighborhood Waterfront Council and the North End Waterfront Resident Council. And we went through this process. We put all the flyers out. It was only 7 months ago. Would we have to do that again?
Most likely not. Your community process would probably still stand. However, it would be worth just reaching out to ONS to confirm that. They're the ones who would, be able to best advise you as to whether or not they want you to just, reach back out to Nunick or Flyer again. I can't speak for them, but a recent community process will likely still stand.
And I
Okay.
echo what Danny says. We would try to work with those of you who have already applied for an all alcohol license, so you're not getting bogged down with more process. But that's my position. We just have to see where ONS is on that.
Can I ask a super question? What's ONS?
The Office of Neighborhood Services. So that's
Oh,
your
the mayor's office.
Yes.
exactly, the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services.
Community liaison.
That's the one. We
Okay.
speak in acronyms around here. Apologies.
Thank you very much. Thank you for answering my question.
Sure.
That's a good question.
The next hand I see raised is from Frank Zanti. You may please provide your testimony.
Hi, yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Sorry, in my car as I'm driving around. Stopped right now though for safety purposes. I just had one quick question as we're talking about this, and I know a lot of it had been about like beer and wine. We've recently upgraded to a cordial license a little over 2 years ago. Would those also be have the opportunity to? Okay, they would. All right.
Yeah,
I just wanted
license,
to clarify that as we were going on. Yeah.
Yes, a cordial license is a type of beer and wine license. So it's the malt, wine, and cordials license. So yes,
Okay.
part of this.
I just want to make sure. Perfect. Thank you.
Sure. Kieran Altieri, you are the next hand raised. You may please provide your testimony.
Hi, everyone. Thanks first of all for doing this. I really appreciate it. This is super helpful. Just a couple of questions. The first one is with respect to the regulations that you will consider after this meeting. Curious whether you would go with a formal comment period. In other words, send out some kind of proposed regulations and allow those to be commented on, given the kind of widespread effect of this great, or at least widely affect this program. That's question one. So that's the first one. Another one was partially asked, but the thing that I would like to ask is whether, with respect to all of these new applications for upgrade, whether you would consider having some kind of streamlined ONS process, given that there'll probably be so many. I know that that's an ONS department, that's not yours, but I think it's something that maybe might be of interest to people given the onerous nature of the ONS process and all the community meetings.
Yeah, we'll get to the second question first, which is that really is an ONS question. I think it would be a question that we can certainly work out with them. I know so many of these really are address specific. Who your abutters are, your abutters meeting audience might be different. And also if the applications are all coming in around the same time, there might be an opportunity for streamlining, but I think there is a little bit of just how that would actually work between our office, ONS, and the applicants to make that work. There could be an appetite, but it could also be a further conversation. And then to your first question, the draft regulations will certainly be made public. They will appear on a voting agenda. Any edits will also be made public. As to whether there will be a formal comment period, that's at the discretion of the board and the chair. So I don't want to answer that for them if there's any thoughts here.
Just one more question I didn't ask if I still have some time on the 2-minute clock. And that is, when it was last before the board, I think there was discussion of a map. And I wonder, there was some talk of a map of all the different types of licenses being in the works. I'm curious whether that has been produced and if it's still in the works.
It does not exist at the moment. There is a publicly available CSV file on Analyze Boston of all of the licenses across the city. It's easy to plug those into make your own Google map, but there's not a formal map of all the liquor licenses that's been produced for us yet.
Thank you.
Sure. Question in the chat from Elizabeth Lashway. Does the risk exist that a beer wine license might not be available in the quota when someone seeks to downgrade to a beer and wine license? Our understanding from reading this legislation is that upgrading your license does not impact the quota at all. So that beer and wine license that you have upgraded kind of remains in limbo until either the business closes and the license comes back as a beer and wine license, or the licensee decides to downgrade into that same beer and wine license that they held originally. The quota doesn't otherwise change. That beer and wine license doesn't really go away. It is kind of held there in waiting for the duration of the licensee upgraded. Kieran Nagel with a hand raised, you may please provide your testimony.
Thank you and good afternoon, and what a fantastic opportunity for everybody. So, thank you for all of this information. Just quick question in relation to annual license fees. So would the upgrade affect the annual license fee renewal?
That is a question that I think would be determined by the board. I believe the legislation allows the board to set fees. As of right now, the contemplation would be the renewal fee would be based on whatever type of license you have at that time. Current thinking is if you've upgraded your license to an all alcohol license, you would pay the renewal fee for an all alcohol license. If your license is beer and wine, your annual renewal fee would be for beer and wine. If you have a cordials, your annual renewal fee will be based on that. That is the current thinking, unless the board changes that as they adopt regulations here.
Okay, so then us having a beer and wine license, then the renewal fee would remain the same if we upgraded.
No, if you have upgraded to an all alcohol license, your renewal fee would then be
okay
for an all alcohol license.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Great, right. Thanks, Danny. Cheers.
Thank you. Again, I don't see any other hands raised. Feel free to raise your hand, use the chat function. That has been working out pretty well so far. Carla Gomez, I do see your hand is raised. You may please go ahead. I just asked you to unmute. Something should have popped up on your screen.
There it is. Sorry
There.
about that. My name's Carla Gomez. I'm the owner of Terramere and Antico Forno in the north end of Boston. I've been in the restaurant business for 33 years, and I've been applying for a full liquor license since 2008. And each time that I've applied, I've been denied every single time. When looking at this proposal, I understand coming from a restricted beer, wine, and cordial license that was given to you by the city. I understand where you're coming from as having a restricted license, but people like me that bought their unrestricted license, I have a strong opposition to it. Like I have an unrestricted beer, wine, and cordial license, and trading it in for a restricted, non-transferable all alcohol license. And when I purchased my beer, wine, and cordial, I paid real money for it. And that license is not just a permit that was given to me by the city; it's actually an asset, with resale value. It's what gives my business long-term value. And I understand what you're trying to do here, but I look at it this way. If the goal is to create fairness and opportunity across all neighborhoods, then the solution isn't to confiscate what existing owners have already earned, with their unrestricted licenses that they paid for. I think the fair and logical approach is to grant unrestricted all alcohol licenses to those of us who have already have unrestricted beer, wine, and cordial licenses, so we can compete on equal footing with other restaurants in our neighborhoods and throughout the city of Boston. So why is that not being considered for people with unrestricted licenses who have paid for their beer, wine, and cordial licenses? I understand where you're coming from with the restricted because that was given to, they didn't pay for it. But now I'm talking about unrestricted beer, wine, and cordial licenses. I think there should be a difference for those people.
Thank you for that comment. I will just say, oh, sorry, Chairman Joyce, just quickly, I just wanted to say the proposal that passed the legislature, signed by the governor, passed city council, and was signed by the mayor, does not make that distinction. It treats all of these upgrades the same. Any type of beer and wine license upgraded into an all alcohol license taking advantage of this new provision, that all alcohol license is automatically non-transferable. There isn't really an option for us in adding regulations here to treat restricted or non-restricted licenses differently. This is the legislation that was passed. Chairman Joyce, anything you wanted to say?
You hit the nail on the head. All I was going to say is we can only work with what we were given. And the legislature only gave us the tools to upgrade them to restricted licenses.
So one other question. I have an unrestricted license. I give it back to the city of Boston. Where does that unrestricted license go? Does it become a restricted license or does it go to another neighborhood in another part of the city to another person
So that's
as an unrestricted license?
So that's what I was trying to explain, and I know I wasn't very clear. So let me use one of the example that Carla just shared. Carla has an unrestricted beer and wine license, and she wants it to be all alcohol. So she applies for a category upgrade. That unrestricted beer and wine license, the category is changed to an all alcohol license. Your license doesn't necessarily, don't picture it as going somewhere and being reissued to another neighborhood. Your license still remains the same, but while you're using it as an all alcohol license, it's being treated as an all alcohol license. If you should want to sell that license in the future because you bought it and it has value, you just have to come back to the board and apply to downgrade the license so that restricted all alcohol license now becomes your unrestricted beer and wine license. So what you started off with is what you will end up with once you apply for this upgrade and then in the future downgrade it. We're not reissuing licenses. Our cap hasn't changed. We're just changing the categories of what these beer and wine licenses are for as long as you want to use them as an all alcohol license. When you decide you no longer want to operate with all alcohol and you want to sell it, then you apply for a downgrade and then you have your license back. And whatever the value is of that beer and wine license on that day is the value of your license So these are business decisions for you. We can't predict, we're not economists, what's going to happen to the value of your licenses. All we can do is to work with what the legislature gave us, and the only tool we have right now is to upgrade them to restricted all alcohol licenses.
Okay, maybe I ask just one more question. All right, so that clarifies a lot for me. So I have a 1 a.m. beer, wine, and cordial license. I would get that 1 a.m. beer, wine, and cordial unrestricted license back when I
Yes.
turns it. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, don't think about it as turning it in. Think about it as downgrading it.
Okay, okay, I
To
understand.
change a category.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Curran, did you unmute yourself earlier? I just want to make sure you had a chance to talk.
I did. I think I have another way to think about how this would work is really, so the example of Ms. Gomez, say she operated for a number of years, all alcohol. What this would mean is if she marketed her business to sell, the buyer wouldn't have an automatic right to maintain that business in that place as an all alcohol license. Now, based on what we're setting up as a scheme here, it's very likely that person would have a right to try to upgrade it again, depending on what regulations we have, but they wouldn't have an absolute right, which would restrict that license in a way which wouldn't make it quite as valuable as a unrestricted all alcoholic license, right? And that would affect the
Yes.
value of the open market.
I think that's what people are concerned about, what's going to happen to the value of their licenses, and we can't predict that no matter what. But what we're telling you is that your license that you upgrade isn't being reissued anywhere else in the city. We're just changing the category for as long as you would like it to be changed. And we can change the category again should you want to sell it or for some other business reason, no longer operate with all alcohol.
Doug, yes, see your hand raised. Go ahead.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions, and I apologize. I don't have the new law in front of me. Did the state provide any rules or guidelines or criteria under which a license could be upgraded to full liquor, or that the board may decide to refuse or decline to upgrade a license from beer and wine to full liquor? As we know, public need is a standard that's often referred to at the licensing board under state law. I just wondered if the state provided any regulations, or is the board contemplating outlining regulation? Because it would be very helpful to owners and neighborhood groups and community members and elected officials if we could look at a set of rules or regulations or guidelines on that issue. And then my second question is, are there any regulations about what corporate changes might trigger an inability to transfer a license? For example, could someone transfer it to a family member? Or could the ownership of shares be changed from 50-50 to 60-40 with two owners? Those are my two questions. Thank you.
Yep. So take the two questions in order. Did the state give us anything beyond what's in the legislation? No, what the tools we have to work on is the legislation that was passed. Is the board considering additional regulations on top of that? That's what today is to hear from licensees before the board contemplates any additional regulations. You are correct. For any change of category, public need is always the standard. That will continue to be the standard. That is state law across the board. For any change of category, this would be included in that. And your second question, again, I think this is kind of up to the board, but since the kind of inception of non-transferable licenses in 2006, this board has always been of the mind that non-transferable means no more than a 49% ownership change, right? The ownership of a license cannot change more than 49% over the life of that license. Otherwise, that is essentially a transfer that would be barred by a non-transferable license. Hope that's helpful. Hope that is in line with the board's thinking. I saw a couple nods, so I think that's good. Great. Any further questions? I see a hand raised, Jordan Vega. Mr. Vega, if you're with us, you may please provide your testimony.
Hello. Thank you all for being here. Pardon me, I'm just at the gym. I was advised to be on this call, and I just had a quick question. new manager at Servia, Boston and downtown. It was under my question that we have a full alcohol liquor license, and I just wanted to know if this is going to affect that at all. That's pretty much my only question.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I didn't hear the question.
Oh, my apologies. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So basically, we have a full liquor license under my understanding, and I just wanted to make sure for this hearing, if there's anything that's going to affect that, if ultimately this is necessary for me to be here or not.
I don't think so, because it's more about people who have beer and wine licenses that would like to have all alcohol licenses.
Okay, I had a feeling, but just wanted to be sure. So, well, thank you all.
Thank you for being here. Give a moment for other folks to jump in and raise their hands if they have questions. I do see a question in the chat. I think it's a two-part question. I think both of them have been addressed already, but just to reiterate, from Bradley Fredericks, is there any thoughts of putting a time restriction between the time one purchases a beer and wine license and the time one can convert that into a full restricted license? It's been asked a couple of times. I think the board is here today to hear what is on people's minds. I don't think that is necessarily contemplated yet. Chairman, it looks like you want to mute yourself. Oh, did you want to say something?
No.
Okay, great. And then the second half is, why would someone pay for a full unrestricted license when they could just backdoor a full license out of a beer and wine? This has also been mentioned a few times, the kind of advantages and disadvantages to having an unrestricted license that could be transferred, the market value, the ability to collateralize that, pledge for a loan, etc., versus having a restricted all alcohol license that would not have those abilities, would not be able to be transferred or sold on the open market for the same value as an all alcohol license, would only ever possibly have the value of a beer and wine license if it is downgraded prior to a sale. I think that's really the answer to that question.
But also, we don't set the value of licenses on the open market. These are open market considerations that anyone considering buying a license needs to go through themselves with them and their business partners.
Yeah, to reiterate what I think the board has said a few times here, while this is an opportunity, all of this is a business decision that will need to be made on an individual basis for every business. I know we are happy to help with the application process. The city's small business office, I think, is happy to help with technical assistance, business advising, but ultimately these are individual business decisions that each business will need to make on their own. I don't see any other hands raised. Please, if you have any further questions or thoughts, please do use the raise your hand function. Also, feel free to type anything in the chat. And if you would rather submit a testimony in writing, the record will be held open for at least another 2 weeks. So please do submit anything in writing to licensingboard@boston.gov. I'll pause for just a second there to see if there's anybody else who has any thoughts they would like to share with the board about this today. Great. If that is the end of public testimony, I'll just ask if there's any thoughts from the board before we wrap up. With that, thank you all for being here today. Again, public testimony will certainly be accepted for at least a couple more weeks. Any draft that the board is considering of regulations following the comment period will be publicly posted with the voting agenda at the meeting where the board will be discussing it. Once this is passed, I do imagine an advisory will go out to all licensees, letting them know what the process looks like. We will certainly be in touch. If you have any questions, you all know how to reach our office. So with that, if there are no further thoughts and no further questions, that will adjourn this hearing. Thank you all. We look forward to hearing from you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.